Hello, fellow drum nerds. It's me, Thomas. A lot of you have been asking about my concert tom kit, and I promised to give you a tour. I got a bunch of questions from you guys about this kit on social media, because I've been posting with this kit recently. And here she is. I've always loved concert toms. That's my era, man. You know, that kind of thuddy 70s sound, I love it. Oops. Oh yeah, this happened yesterday. Boom. Uh-oh. My kick drum sounds amazing. I've been recording a bunch of heavy music because I love the sound of concert toms in heavy music. This is a mess. Total mess, broken heads, lots of broken sticks everywhere. Hello. I need new drum heads. 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 18, 24. That's what we need. Power stroke 3. Yes, sir. 1, 2. Easy peasy. Hey, Neil. Hey, dude. Morning, Terry.
When your life is upside
Hey,
down,
Stewie. What up?
turn it around.
Let's do this. I need my buddy Walt to come in and help change heads. Walt? Where's Walt? Where's the Walt? Ah! Here's the Walt! Look, what I love is these things. I have the JK drum plates, rugs, and drum plates, and these Velcro discs. They hold everything in place. Look, these keep all my pedals in place, all my mic stands, my bass drum spurs, everything's locked in with these incredible Velcro discs. They're so unbelievably tough, and the way they stick to the rug is just like they're welded to it. It's amazing. Drum rugs by JK Drum Plates with our custom logos on it for 9 Beats USA. More kindling for the fireplace. The one thing that drives me nuts in my studio is cable salad. Anything, all the messy cables. I still find stuff like this. You know, that's me doing that. See, everything's half-assed. Here, kind of organized, and oh, mess. Yep, that's how I roll. Look at this mess. Look at all that. What's this? Velcro strips. I need Velcro. When I was a kid and I went to concerts and I stood in front of the stage, kind of looking up at the stage and the drum riser, and when the drummer had concert toms like that, that was it for me. It just freaked me out. It looked so cool. Even here, it looks cool. Even here in the video. There's something, I don't know, visually about concert toms that I just really love. They look brutal. They look more primitive than double-headed toms. And I always just loved the way it looks when they're mic'd from the inside like that. It just looks mean. They look exciting. They look loud, powerful. They look kind of racy. They look fast. They look loud. And they are. Especially in black, like this kit. I think it looks very, very Batman. Every time I pull out my kick drums and I change drum heads, I find all kinds of debris on the floor. Mysterious little screws, cable clips, washers, Velcro. Where does it go? No idea. All the nooks and crannies. I like to get right under the pedals like that. Time-saving tip. When you have, you know, the T-clamps like these here on the kick drums going over the hoop, I just loosen the T-clamp and I let it rest on the side of the hoop like that. And then I'll just take the hoop off, and it saves a ton of time because the lug screws remain inside of the receivers. And that saves me a lot of time. Yeah! Goodbye. New drum head. Look how beautiful this is. New drum heads, man. This is the Randy May internal miking system. This rail is mounted on these rubber gasket shock absorbers. Everything's completely suspended. And I've got a D6 mic in here, also suspended and basically floating in this rubber gasket here. The cable goes out through the vent hole, and on the outside, I just plug it in like so. The microphone is always in the same position. Of course, I can change it if I want to, and there's even an app for the phone, so you can do it even when the front head is on. Just go to the app, move the mic on the rail wherever you want it. It's pretty snazzy. It's super high tech. Okay, so this is the batter head on the other bass drum. As you can see, the lugs are just finger tight. You know, I don't actually tighten them with a drum key or anything. I just press the hoop down and tighten the lugs with my fingers. I'll show you exactly how I tune my kick drums right now. The head is on, right side up. I'm gonna clean my hoop too. Every time I change drum heads, it gives me an opportunity to clean the bearing edges, clean the inside of the shell a little bit. All my drums have leather hoops except for my steel kit. Beautiful. And you know why I like the leather hoops? Yes, they look snazzy and really super cool, very stylish, but even more so on a traditional hoop, wood hoop or steel hoop or something, a lug screw comes loose and it starts to wiggle when you kick the bass drum, you get a rattly sound. With these leather hoops, that never happens. No rattling. It's very cool, especially in the studio. That's why I love them. Okay, so all I have to do when the head is back on, I put the hoop back on, and then I'll just pull up the T-clamps like this. Like, boom. See how fast that is? What I do is I press the hoop down next to the lug screw and tighten it with my finger. I press it down. See that? I tighten it just with my finger. If you put weight onto the hoop and press it against the bearing edge, it does tighten the head just enough for my personal taste. And you know what? For me, that works every time. There it is. Simple. Drum one done. Second drum done. You know, this great company called Groove Juice makes a fantastic cleaning product for shells. It's called Shell Shine, but I can't find it. So today I have to use my own juice. That's disgusting. Ugh. What's wrong with that Lang, dude? Pretty much everything. That is definitely a scratch. These are scratches for shizzle. Doesn't matter because it's got a giant hole in it. These are two 24 by 14 kick drums. That's my kind of preferred size, or 26 by 16 or 24 by 14. Built exactly the same way, maple mahogany shells, both tuned to a E flat. What I like to do sometimes when I change heads, I switch out the kick drums too. I can get them to sound pretty much exactly the same when they're not behind the kit. As soon as they're behind the kit, everything changes because of where they're positioned behind the kit. So you get quite a bit of sympathetic ring and resonance from the floor toms when you play the kick drum, the right kick drum. When I play my left kick drum, I do get a little bit of sympathetic ring and resonance from the small drums, but nothing compared to the right side of the kick. So acoustically, when you're behind the kit and you play the two kick drums, they sound a little different. The right one has more low end, of course, and it's just the way it is. Also with regular tom-toms, that's the case, because when you have a resonant head on the bottom and you hit a kick drum, then that resonant head rings. It all adds to the flavor of the kick drum. I'm gonna make my previously left kick drum the right kick drum now. With my drum plates, all I have to do is put the spur inside of that Velcro disc where it used to be. Same on the right side. And now it's exactly where it was before. Plug the kick drum back in. Boom, done. Left kick drum. Done. They rest right in here and right there. Perfect, just where they were. Look how neat that is. Time to change all these drum heads. I think that concert toms are so beautiful, and I don't want to hide the beauty of these shells behind some kind of hardware. And a lot of you have been asking about how I mount them, because these look like they're floating in midair, which is kind of the look I'm going for. I just like to see the whole drum like that. So what I do is I mount my 8-inch tom off my hi-hat stand, which is mounted to my left side rack. This is very, very solid. The 12-inch tom here is mounted on a tom clamp of my right side rack. Kind of a very stealthy looking rack because it's very low, and it has 2 long legs like that, 4 cymbals mounted on this, and a closed hi-hat. That's why I love DW. Their hardware is just amazing. You'll find anything you need and it'll all fit and match. It's like Lego for drummers. You know, you'll always find a piece that fits and does what it needs to do. My 10-inch tom is mounted on the other side of the drum, on the player side. The tom mount is on my side, not in front of the drum, but behind the drum, so you can actually see the beauty of the drum shell. And it's just mounted on this tiny little custom homemade tom stand that sticks in there. It's a piece of a microphone mount that DW makes. So usually it goes in that way, and a mic clip screws onto this side. I just turned it around, put it in there like so, tighten it, and boom, I have a mini tom mount. Here's my snare stand, and I just have a short bar, a short foot on the bottom. This connects to this rod, which has a long bar in the front for stability. I mount this tube on the horizontal bar at the bottom, and that's my 10-inch rack tom mount. And I like the 5000 series stands. You know, this is just one joint going straight into the tube, just like that, without that extension bar. And here's my bottom snare mic, and these are the tom mics. I use the D4s for my toms. These are really floor tom mics, but I think they just sound and work really well with concert toms. This is all black nickel hardware.
Not yet.
I am putting 2-ply Remo Emperor heads on my tom-toms. The coating muffles the head a little bit. They have a little less ring. They are a little warmer. And depending on the tension, you can get a more traditional concert tom sound that way, with a little less attack, more thuddy and barky. And especially when you muffle them with muffle rings or with the muffle trays from the inside that Remo makes, they sound so good, and they have such a distinct pitch. Stank face. Such a distinct pitch, much more so than double-headed tom-toms, because there is no interference in the shell. So you don't get the sound wave to, reflecting back, resonating from the resonant head, interfering with the original sound of the batter heads. Woo-hoo-hoo. 10-inch tom. I really enjoy changing heads and really kind of reconnecting with the gear. It sounds a little esoteric, I know, but there's something about it, something very special when, you take care of your gear. You clean it regularly. You look at all the details, make sure everything's in place, all the washers and screws on the inside of the shell are tight, nothing's rattling, all the receivers and the turret lugs are straight and greased up. Look at this beautiful shell. Look at that. It's gorgeous. Oh yeah, it's beautiful. This is what a concert tom sounds like. Boom! Yeah, they sound great. And I just found a little scratch on my 12-inch tom. And how do I fix it? Well, Sharpie to the rescue. There's a tiny little spot here where you can see the wood through the lacquer. It's been scratched, so a tiny dab of Sharpie on the boo-boo, and it is fixed. Look at that. Looks like new. I try not to bang them too much. I try to hit the heads, not the shell so much. I love this drum. This is absolutely my favorite snare drum. 6.5 by 14 titanium shell. Incredible. It's a beast. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo. Yes, please. Controlled sound, white coated on it. It's got a black dot on the inside of the head. I like that sound. It's quite dry, it's really controlled, and it goes really well with the concert toms, especially when they're muffled a little bit. It's that kind of 70s, thuddy, dry sound. Makes you want to go just hacks do do boo, guitar boo, hega boo. Thud boner. You want to push the drum head down in the center of the head. That means that the hoop of the drum head is being pushed onto the bearing edge completely equally around the circumference of the shell, of pushing it down and then tightening sort of opposing screws, and the head sits perfectly on the bearing edge all around. What does it sound like? It already sounds good. And you know what? These are very light because obviously there's only 50% of the hardware on these shells. They don't have the bottom lugs and the bottom hoop and screws, so these shells are much lighter. Plus, they're very thin also. And I like that. The titanium snare drum is super light. All my drums are actually quite light on this kit. The only drums that have two heads on them, batter and resonant head, are the snare drum and the two kick drums. Everything else is a single-headed drum. Brand new drum heads. Everything's fresh and clean. Yes, please. Look at that. She's a beauty. Ooh, it's got the growl. Ah, it's gonna be good. This is my 18-inch floor tom. Hey! Boom! It's got a satin stain inside. Woo! I'm just admiring the detail. Woo! Okay. Hello. It feels really cozy inside of here. Ha ha ha! But you can already tell it's got a very distinct pitch to it. Did you say something? You just make a noise? Is that the glue cracking? I'm miking my floor toms with two D6 kick drum mics. They're about 3 inches from the head on the inside of the drum. It's basically like miking a kick drum. You know, you're inside of the shell and you can tune them really low. You still get a lot of smack and bottom end that way. Sometimes I angle the bass drum mics more towards the edge of the drum. But at the moment I keep them straight and centered, pointing right at the middle of the drum head from the inside. I put a P3 on the gong drum, and I have my black dot controlled sound heads clear on the Rada toms. I have all my coated emperors on the tom-toms and my controlled sound on the snare drum. I make my own custom muffle rings. The larger the drum, as you can see, the wider the muffle ring. This is the 12-inch. It's got about 3/4 of an inch, same with the 10, and that's about 1/2 inch on the 8-inch tom. I use my old drum heads to make custom muffle rings. So I'll take say a 16-inch used head, and the edge of the head is usually totally pristine. So I put the 14-inch drum head onto the 16-inch used drum head. I draw a circle around it with a Sharpie, and I cut out the muffle ring. And then I end up with this. This is about 2 inches thick. I take the used 18 drum head and I put a 16 on it, or a 14, depending on how wide I want the muffle ring to be. And larger drums have more sustain, and that usually requires a wider muffle ring on a larger drum than on a small drum. Hence my custom muffle rings. This is very narrow. It muffles the 8-inch tom just enough, and this is obviously wider for the 18-inch tom, and that way I achieve an equal sustain on all drums. And especially with concert toms, this is really useful if you want to bring out more of a controlled pitch and a note out of your concert toms. Then muffle rings are the real deal. It totally works well. Hello. Now check this out. Even when you play really sort of dense stuff, the concert toms are short enough and pronounced enough to always cut through, even when you're playing really busy patterns. You know, they're just short enough, and they have this really pronounced pitch. And with the muffle rings especially, they're so dry and short. Yeah. So it's already sounding great. No plugins, no EQs, and it already sounds killer. Here we go. Yeah. I sometimes use different heads, by the way. Sometimes I use clear heads, clear emperors. Sometimes I use pinstripe heads or black dots. So, and of course, it drastically changes the sound. And but the sound is always great. It's always got that thuddy kind of bark. When you muffle them, they're really dry and have a very distinct pitch. And when they're open, they just bang. It's just, they're loud, obviously, because all the air just gets pushed out the bottom of the drum. No resonant head. Also, great separation between the drums because the mic's inside of the drum, so you don't pick up a lot of bleed from the other drums. And you get a very clean kind of signal, which is also awesome. Plus, you have the option to mic them from the top like any other drum, and it gives you a very different character. You don't have that kind of ping, you know, that boing that you get when you stick the mic inside of the drum, which is something I really like. Sometimes I mic them from the outside, and they sound a little more like traditional drums, a little more. They still have more pitch and less sustain because they don't have a resonant head. Thanks for watching this tour. Check out 9beatsusa.com. Follow me on Instagram, Thomas Lang Drum, and Twitter and everything else, Thomas Lang Drum. If you have any questions, comment here. If you want to do Zoom lessons or master classes or in-person lessons here in Oak Park, California at 9beatsusa, then email me, thomaslang at 9beatsusa.com. Stay safe. Thanks for watching. Hope you all well. Stay safe and get yourself some concert toms.